a low risk, high reward move. This is Beane stepping up to the plate and seeing if there are any tread left on the tires of a 5-time Pro Bowler and a guy that has had double-digit sacks throughout a lot of his career. When healthy, and let me put that, when healthy, in caveats, that part, nope. Okay, I know where I was going with it.
Okay, all right, let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Okay. When healthy,
yeah,
he has been a very productive player. The caveat to that sentence is that the when healthy is doing a lot of lifting.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the podcast, the channel. We always appreciate it. Reminder, you can find our podcast, also audio-only versions, wherever you find your podcast. Just look up Buffalo Plus. We make it easy for you. All right, we're going to talk Josh Allen's extension, Joey BOSA, what we make of that, the Bills re-signing Ty Johnson, some other additions. Demar Hamlin will be back. We're going to get into it all. But first, let's start with the news of the day on Wednesday. We finally got to hear from Josh Allen, signing the extension, a little bit on the MVP. Mike, what did you make of what he had to say?
Yeah, I mean, he's Josh. He's great about the city of Buffalo. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I love that he talked about when he first came to Buffalo and how he knew it felt like home. He's been consistent that way too.
Yeah.
I've had people say to me they were worried about, would Josh ever leave? Would he want this? We want that. Listen, there would be reasons, I guess, that he would leave. It would not to be for him to be in a different or bigger city. He's
Correct.
not sitting there going, I want LA, I want, Chicago, Philly, somewhere big, New York,
City,
obviously, right?
Area.
Could he play there? Josh could play anywhere. I think he's just so unbelievably comfortable in Buffalo.
Yeah.
That comes through in everything he does. And even in his biggest moments, he talks about Buffalo.
Yeah, the comfort's a big thing. I remember when we've talked to other people since then about Buffalo is the biggest city that Josh has ever lived in.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a booming metropolis. You talk about Laramie, you talk about, obviously we know how small Fireball is. So all of those things, it worked perfectly. You had classic Josh, I felt like on the Zoom, just understanding the gravitas of the contract extension.
Well done.
Well done.
Nailed it. Nailed it. And just kind of that, while also saying, look, the MVP award, it doesn't change him. It doesn't change the way he plays. It doesn't change his desire, anything like that. And you even kind of mentioned too, like getting back to the football.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you won the MVP, all these things, you signed this massive contract, and it's like, yeah, like I got to find ways to get things better. He talked about part of the reason of doing this was to help give them a little cap relief so they can go out and make some signs. We can get to those, obviously, that he talked about, but just great to kind of get to him. You get to see him also like in his like man cave basement and just kind of Joshua's iPad. Like,
yeah, I just thought it was funny. Like, this man has now been paid literally $250 million, and he's like in his basement, probably, that looks like everyone's, that has like nothing really hanging on the walls. Like, I think of was it Cliff Kingsbury when he did the press conference with like the ridiculous backyard that was like impeccable, all that stuff.
He does have that beach house out in LA, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's not a pauper, but
that
like,
would be that would be the place if you were going to do that. That's probably where you would hold that too.
But I felt like that was
I'm
very true to Josh. And also, I thought, you talk about him wanting to be in Buffalo. I thought it was kind of interesting. He did a little bit behind the scenes talking about how he knew he wanted to be here during his post or pre-draft visit, where he actually got snowed in, and him and a couple of the guys from the Bills went to Barbill, and he said he felt, super comfortable. And so I think it just was cool to kind of hear about that. I also asked him about the MVP. Was the speech, like, how much thought he put in? He said, very relatable. He just kind of blacked out and was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't specifically have anything planned. So I thought it was, and look, we know it wasn't like, oh, is Josh going to leave? But I think for a lot of people, it frees up the fact that he will be staying. He got paid. A lot of people were asking about when he will get paid. And also now he can move on and just worry about the team.
Well, it's also too, we talked about, he's so relatable for being a guy that is in a different stratosphere than all of the people in Buffalo that he is able to relate to. And I mean that in the sense of, he asked his agent talking about what number works best for the team, meaning the Bills. And part of doing so, he goes, what's $5 million to me? And he goes, I live a pretty good life. I have a house. I have a car. I've got things. Like, what's $5 million to me? Like, what's best for the team? That's pretty bleeping cool.
Yeah.
Like that you have a player understanding. Again, we always talk about it, the self-awareness of Josh to sit there and I am pro player getting every single cent, dollar, penny that they have earned and setting up their family and future family members for success. I'm never one of those guys that's like, why don't you play for my team? Oh, what's $1 million? It's $1 million.
Yeah.
But for Josh to have that perspective of saying, hey, I've got a lot of things, like what's best for the team, I think is really cool in a leader, face of the franchise, all of those things.
And he is built up where somebody else saying that, what's $5 million to me, could be taken the wrong way as a little bit of arrogance. We know that's not him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it is $5 million. Now he is in a position to make that money in other ways too, but he does want to be on the team that way. And when you go back to the way he speaks, I've always said to you guys, I've always felt from the day we saw him at the draft all the way through, he has handled each part of his life as a Buffalo Bill about as well as you can.
Mm-hmm.
From going from draft pick, where there were questions about the tweets and all that stuff, that he had to walk into that locker room, handled it very well, to then becoming, well, they waited a long time, 30 minutes before they made him the starter?
Correct.
The first game of the year.
Yeah.
So now he's in this spot that he hadn't really earned being a starter. So he handled it that way. It just was the other guy was bad. And so Josh was starter. And then learning when he got to each level and then got paid and now getting paid again, winning the MVP. I don't really think any of it changes him, and not in that fake way that sometimes people can be like, this won't change me. But the people who know him know it does change him. I don't think he's going to change.
And I asked Josh too a little bit about that, just about the journey. Because when we talked to Terrell Bernard, I asked him, like, you go from your rookie year, he plays one game. It did not go well. He talks about, he's been the one that has been open about it, like in his growth, being like, I thought I was ready to play. I was not. That game against the Jets was really bad. And now obviously Terrell Bernard is the only captain on defense and is a key part of the Bills moving forward. So I asked Josh about that perspective too. And I understand when we ask him during the season, that's difficult to ask a player. Hey, I know you're in the biggest grind of your season right now, but can you zoom out for me and tell me what it's like? So I thought today asking him over on Zoom, and he's like, he said, I'm not a very nostalgic person. You know, I try and be where my feet are. But he goes, I do understand that it wasn't that long ago. I was on the sidelines in junior college, waiting and wanting to be the guy that gets called in. Again, having that perspective, like you talk about with his entire career, how he has handled all of those stages, while also understanding it wasn't that long ago. He was a 0-star recruit out of Fireball, California, that nobody really wanted.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Like I believe there's some people when you talk to, and you're right, where it's like, oh, this won't change me. And you're like, okay. I genuinely believe that in Josh. All right, let's talk. He was asked a little bit about some of the newer guys, but I want to also talk about, Josh was excited for the new guys coming in, the guys that they re-sign, all that stuff. But I wanted to kind of get your two opinions on some of the new additions. And we didn't talk about Joey BOSA coming in, 1-year deal, $12.6 million. Dan, I want to start with you. What was your initial reaction to that? And how do you feel about making this move?
So we saved this.
It isn't a big hot take on my part. I want to hear what you have to say.
So my thought,
right?
We were starting to talk about this, and then we said, wait.
In the sports office.
Yeah.
And these two say I actually them. But I didn't. I just had a different opinion.
Sometimes I'm like, well, actually. Which is fine. You have a lot of experience and you have a lot of perspective, which is one of the reasons why we love
actually,
you. I know that was a joke, but there are times where you will do that.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Daniel, go right ahead.
I did not see this as a move that I was expecting. I also see this as a low risk, high reward move. This is Beane stepping up to the plate and seeing if there are any tread left on the tires of a 5-time Pro Bowler and a guy that has had double-digit sacks throughout a lot of his career. When healthy, and let me put that, when healthy, in caveats, that part, nope.
It's okay. In caveats is really
Okay.
In quotes, like in quotation marks.
I know where I was going with it.
Okay, all right, let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Okay. When healthy,
Yeah,
he has been a very productive player. The caveat to that sentence is that the when healthy is doing a lot of lifting.
yeah.
Yes.
Because he has not been healthy a whole lot over the last few years. So I see this. I don't think there's ever a bad 1-year deal. And I mean that in the sense of doesn't work out. Okay, it doesn't work out. But you're not tied up on anything. I'm sure when we actually find out the number, I'm sure there'll be void years on this at some point. So he may not even get the whole $12 million that it's worth up to. So I think that if he's healthy and can perform, he will be worth that. And it's worth taking the chance for Brandon Beane to take the swing.
I was kind of surprised by the move. Full disclosure, I went to bed I had no idea, and then I woke up on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Dude, I have
grindy.
Grinding.
No.
Yeah.
Mike did a video.
I was asleep. I was already in REM. But when I woke up, I was like, oh, I'm kind of surprised because $12.6 million. I think of Leonard Floyd getting $10 million from the Falcons, and I really liked Leonard Floyd as a player.
Same.
Now, you could argue, though, that Leonard Floyd's max is not as high as Joey BOSA. Absolutely. But also, I just feel like Leonard Floyd has been on the field more. So maybe the ceiling for Joey BOSA is higher, but the floor is a lot lower than Leonard Floyd, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I was kind of surprised, but also they are taking a swing and we wanted them to take a swing. Can he stay healthy? What are they going to be able to do to keep him healthy? I do think it's a benefit because the way the Bills are set up, it's more of a rotational defensive line. And for him, he can maybe have more snaps off and what that will do to his longevity. But I was like, oh, okay. Wasn't expecting the move. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you. And your point goes into mine, which is you're right. It's 1 year. So it doesn't cause you long-term problems with spending. The one thing about it is they only have a limited amount of things like that they can do. And they have chosen Joey BOSA. They need somebody this year to help in the pass rush. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
And, Leonard Floyd, I think would have been great. I think Leonard Floyd appears to want to have gone back home to Georgia, play for Atlanta. That deal was done in half an hour from when he got let go by the 49ers.
That man is a sack mercenary.
He just goes,
give me my check. I'll sack some quarterbacks, and then I'm out of here.
He averages almost 10 a year.
I respect
year.
that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Respect it.
But you are right. BOSA, when he's at his highest, is a game wrecker. He has been that guy before. My only thought was, boy, you need him on the field. They can't have this. Now, I do like that they have been aggressive in changing the pass rush.
Yep.
And they've done it so they got some other moves to make there.
Yep.
There's no question. And yes, if healthy. It's just like you could say that about any player, but this is a guy in the last 3 years that's missed 23 games. And he's also come out of a few games too, where he's gotten nicked up and come out. So this is what you're asking for. Hey, it'd be nice that the Bills catch a break in this way. That Joey BOSA plays all year and does really good things for them. Because they've had, what happened with Vaughn. I mean, he was on the way to that first year. And then, but to your point, it wasn't a 1 year deal, it was a multi-year deal. And it was for a lot more money. So I'm happy they took a swing. And then they just got to, make sure that they manage him in the way that they get the most out of him.
But what we were disagreeing on is that I say it's low risk. You were saying it's a high risk.
No, I'm saying is the replacement cost would have been about the same. So to Jenna's point, let's use Leonard Floyd as that example. Leonard Floyd stays on the field. He's going to be out there, and he has been equally productive.
Yes.
So I'm saying is there were probably some options out there, maybe not Floyd himself, that you'd have a little more faith that barring something else, they're going to be on the field. That's the downside. That was the only thing I'm looking at. Going,
yeah.
Joey's, he got to, because if Joey BOSA was healthier, he would still be getting another big deal.
Yeah. He'd be getting Khalil Mack and higher money.
Right.
I didn't even guess he kind of flew under the radar of edge rushers that I thought the Bills would be interested in, and not even knowing really his market. He's kind of just been blah and irrelevant, Joey BOSA, for the last few years because of the injuries. And all of these things. But I looked at it and I go, he is 29.
He's going to be 30.
So he's turning 30.
He's going to be 30.
Okay. So he's 6 years younger than Von. He's replacing Von.
Yeah.
He's going to be the third down, go get the quarterback guy. So the way that they rotate their D-line and Von Miller, this is where a little bit of the analytics people lose me. And again, remember, it wasn't that long ago. I was Mr. Analytics. I was going through the DVOA and all of these things. But when you look at what Von's pass rush win rates were last year, and everybody's like, oh, look at how high his wins were, percentages. You need some context into that. Von played pretty much primarily on third down on situations to just go get after the quarterback.
Right.
So that wasn't necessarily what the Chargers were using BOSA to do. And I think that's what the Bills will use him to be. So if I didn't sit there and I didn't really notice Von on the field that much this year, and they went, look at how high his win rate was, I wonder what Joey BOSA could do in that same spot. Because physically, 6'4", big dude, can be an imposing factor. And if you put him in situations like I think the Bills will use him like a Von, he's 6 years younger. He's cheaper than what Von was going to cost you. I think this is worth the shot when you look at it.
Well, and that's kind of what I was talking about of obviously there has been the injury history, but he was used so much more. Whereas for the Bills, because it is a rotation, that him being on the field less is a benefit. Now, can he stay healthy when he is out there is the question. But
big question.
Yeah, and that will be the biggest question. But at the same point, it's one of those things where, was I expecting this? No, I already thought, I kind of had crossed him out of my mind because I figured he would sign with the 49ers to be with his brother. Those were some of the early reports. But for the Bills, I mean, can we talk about the fact that, even if what you got from Von was so lacking that maybe this will be an upgrade, if he's just out on the field.
We got to keep in mind, they need an every down player on that side.
Okay.
It's not going to be AJ. I think they...
Why? I literally had to go back and look and be like, did I miss something? Did they cut AJ? Did we forget about him? He started. He was their guy.
Not very effective at all. I think AJ could be a guy that gets moved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Hoyt to play full?
Or they bring in somebody else, or they're drafting high. I know there's D tackles, but listen, even if this is good, you're talking about a stopgap here. You need pass rushers.
That's why I like the 1-year deal.
Right.
Because none of the moves that they made, Hoyt is, again, we're still trying to figure out what he's going to be used as. It's almost like he replaces Smoot kind of thing. Some of the pieces.
I think Hoyt's going to have a much bigger role than you think he does.
Hot take.
I think he's an effective pass rusher. I thought of him more in the Von role.
You said that on our video on Monday.
Yeah, and I was being respectful when I thought you were crazy.
Well,
I
have some sources with the Rams.
Oh.
And initially, the first thing they said is he's going to replace Von Miller on the Bills.
Interesting. There just wasn't a spot for him in LA because
he was, and then they changed him. They used to have him playing more of a linebacker spot, not a cover guy, and then they used him more situationally as a pass rusher. And that's really what his job is. Now, again, they are opening up options here. And I'm not saying definitely with AJ, but they need a more effective. I mean, you talk about AJ was not a pass rusher last year.
Nope.
At all.
Yeah.
Really.
Aaron Rodgers, though.
Got a sack on Aaron Rodgers.
We
for
have
safety.
that file video forever.
Who else did we have file video of a safety?
Tremaine Edmonds.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Cleveland.
Always got to get those. And who shot the one with AJ?
Me.
That was great.
It was
Because
so
it was
good.
coming right there. It was
just
so
coming.
good.
It was just
Yeah, that's his
Rodgers,
resume play. Yeah.
crumpling.
Yes. I
That's
just think
interesting on Hoyt. I still can't. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
I can't sit there and I say
He's going to be again, maybe he's playing more. I don't know. I think he's going to be, I think they think more of him than just
What we think.
I don't know. I mean, the Von role is strange because Von has been that guy, and we were thinking he's going to transition even more so to a limited snap guy. And I don't know how much Bosa will be on the field. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how he is. But
I just feel like with the injury history,
Yeah.
you should try to maximize what you can get out of him. And by doing that, that means he's on the field less.
yeah,
That to me makes it pretty.
Well, they still have other moves to make on that D line too.
Yeah, of course. It's March 12th.
Right. But it's pretty much a rebuild what they're doing on that line.
at least an overhaul.
Yes. I'm not sure about Daquan.
Sorry, just laughing like.
Synonyms?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's keep it going.
Rebuild and retool.
Well, think about it now. So you have brought in what? 3 guys? So you've redone Greg, I guess. And so Von's out, and now you've done this. And I think they're going to be drafting on the D line, and I still think they're going to be signing on the D line.
Yeah.
None of the moves the Bills have made over these first few days of free agency prevent them from doing anything in the draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fair. All right. Do we want to get into the Steelers? Talking about D-line.
Yeah.
The Bills signed a former Steelers defensive tackle, Larry Ogunjobi.
Yeah.
Ogunjobi.
Well
There
done.
we go. Sorry, I sounded it out.
Sort of like a Austin Johnson replacement,
Yeah.
right?
Tim Settle-esque
Yeah.
signing.
Yeah.
Kind of a
It's more of a plays over the guards, I would think. He's not a what they call a one technique over the middle.
Yeah. From what I heard, he was pretty good in Cleveland. They ran more of a 4-3. He went to Pittsburgh. They run more of a 3-4. The Bills are more of a 4-3 defensive line. So there is the thought that he will have more success like he had in Cleveland more than the success he had in Pittsburgh.
And
that's the end of my analysis.
But that is more than just that is a very when you think about it, it's a very obvious thing for certain people's skill set. Because what they're asked to do in those two different defenses is very different.
It's night and day.
Yeah. So if he's in the right fit, and again, you're right, they rotate, they do this. In some way, shape, or form, this D-line has to create more. And I do think they have got guys with more of that twitch, that explosiveness.
Yeah.
And Bosa, I think, still has that. His injuries have been some soft tissue, and he had, what was the
Core muscle.
Core muscle. Yeah. That kept him out for a while.
Well,
it hasn't been knees. It hasn't been, it's
some foot stuff.
Yeah, he did have that was early in his career. Yeah. Foot stuff.
So did Rex Ryan.
Oh God. Really?
You should not have taken the one shot when I said that.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit more defense wise. They re-signed Demar.
You said it in a tweet best. Didn't you say that about trust for Demar?
Yeah.
You've said that before, and we've talked about it. Whatever role he has, they trust him.
They do.
I still would like to see him as the third safety.
Sure.
And I think he's going to compete with Cole this year.
I think so too.
Right? And
it's a 1-year deal.
It is. I'm a little surprised he didn't have, I know there's a lot of safeties out there. I thought he might have had some options.
Yeah, I thought so.
But
let me say this. However, this Demar story has gotten hijacked, has been frustrating.
Yeah.
This is not a charity signing. He was never a charity player. Those don't happen in the NFL. So for anybody that wants to comment in and saying, oh, they're just signing Demar for the story.
Please.
Respectfully, shut up.
Yeah. It's an idiotic
It's
take.
just a horrendous take on all of that. There's no such thing like that. Again, Demar earned his spot to be a starter this year. He got some fortunate breaks because of the injury to Mike Edwards and Cole Bishop. And maybe if those two things don't happen, maybe he doesn't start. That's fair. If you want to make that argument, that's fine. But he has become a viable safety in the NFL.
No question.
This isn't a cute story anymore. He's a football player. Okay. And does he take bad routes? Has he taken bad routes to stop runs? Yeah. Okay. But to sit here and and be like, there are a lot of worse teams out there that have worse third safeties if Demar's your third safety. And you talk about the fact that I say they trust him. They still are trying to figure out if they trust Cole Bishop. That is what they're trying to see. And for as much as Sean and Brandon will always be complimentary of their guys, when Sean has been pushed at the combine of, hey, Cole's going to be your starter next year, right? He started at the end of the year, these kind of things. He's like, I don't know. Like, we'll see. Now it's about, he talks about being behind with the injury. He talks about getting beat in the Houston game, learning from those things. You don't know what you don't know. And then he goes, now it's the big jump. Now it's, okay, now go back, learn it, learn this system inside and out. And he goes, we'll know really quickly when he walks in that door if he's ready. That is, you're hoping.
Right.
Hope in one hand, shit in another, and see which one fills up first. So where I think I like the fact that Beane is covering his ass a little bit is because, hey, worst case scenario, if Cole's not ready or Cole's not the guy that we think he is, we have if Damar Hamlin's your worst case scenario, it's a pretty good worst case scenario.
And someone that knows the system.
So that's my little soapbox, because the first tweet I get is charity case.
Yeah.
It's like, shut
it's just
up.
An idiot who says that. And Derek Forrest, they brought in too, was a guy who's had some injury issues, has shown flashes with Washington. I do think they want to ramp up competition at that safety position.
Another 1-year deal.
Yeah. So bring them in. Those guys always play teams and see how it maps out. It might be a year with other things to look at that they're not looking at safety in the draft, because I do think at some point they are. It's nothing preventing them from doing it.
Yeah.
But it might be the priorities. I still think the priorities for defense are D-line and corner.
Yeah.
I think that's 100% accurate. All right, let's talk about Ty Johnson being re-signed by the Bills. I think a lot of people were excited to see him back.
Yep. How did I put this? We've talked about what it means for James Cook.
Yes.
What it means to me is the Bills are still planning on James Cook being 2+ down guy.
That is exactly the way I see it.
Yeah.
And I talked about that before,
right,
when we did a bunch of James Cook stuff and about his contract and when are they going to get him a new deal. And I said, I'm going to wait and hold my opinion until we get to see what Ty Johnson's deal is. 2 years, $5 million, or what? Again, that's what agents are reporting. We don't know the guaranteed or anything like that. But Ty Johnson is now under contract in Buffalo right now, longer than James Cook is.
Yeah.
I think that will change, but that is, again, what they think of Ty is also, I think, a little bit of a knock at what they think James isn't.
And it's also, Jenna, they're not in a position to say, well, James, we're going to let you play a little bit more in these circumstances to see if you can become that guy. This is not the season to be doing that. Yeah. They know they got a guy in Ty Johnson. They know they have their $13 billion quarterback standing there, and they want a back who will protect him, and they don't have to worry about it. So James Cook's going to try to prove he's worth more.
Mm-hmm.
And he might do that. He might be just so good in his role that they still want to pay him more. But I think the bringing back Ty, I think, is showing you where they are at the moment.
I was surprised by the money, though. I thought, I didn't think it was outrageous, where I was like, oh, okay, this is a great price to get Ty Johnson back. And I just when I think of Ty Johnson, he's just clutch. Yeah. I think of some of those catches he had, actually catches specifically. I think of the Lions game, what he was able to do. I just think of
Denver.
Yeah, Denver, another great example. He's someone that has really found his own in Buffalo. I mean, when he came from the Jets, I think he was a really hungry player, and to see the opportunity he's been given with the Bills and how he has taken advantage of that. And I think I remember you talking and asking him hey, you're considered a third down back. And he was like, that doesn't offend me. Cause some people might get offended by that.
Yeah. I've just always thought of it as a little bit of a backhanded compliment of, it's like, oh, you're the best pinch hitter. It's like, well, I just want to be the best hitter. I don't want to be viewed as putting you into a corner or putting you into a box of what you're doing best. But I kept going back to it. My tweet was about the fact of, it's not like it's not like Ty Johnson got snaps because James Cook couldn't. It was Ty Johnson got snaps because he earned them by his play in big moments.
Yeah.
And for a team that lacked playmakers at times, and we said it was Josh and James were the two playmakers, Ty was so dependable in big moments that James had to take a seat. And not because James wasn't a good player and things like that, but they just trusted him so much in those spots. And I remember going back to last year when Joe Brady took over and Ty was more of a part of that offense later in the year. And I went, damn, I hope they keep Ty Johnson. So for the second year in a row, I'm really happy that he's back and on a 2-year deal.
Yeah. What do you make of the moves they've made, like overall?
I think they've been aggressive and, not
they've
just
been early too.
Yeah. Not just, it's a great sign being in a position with the guys sometimes it's almost taken for granted when you sign, like Bernard and Shakir, because they weren't going into free agency.
Yeah.
And it's spending money, but it's like, oh no, we have guys that are worth doing early.
Yep.
That's what the smart teams do. And then the next step is they've been aggressive in finding players. Sometimes I think there's a thought that early in free agency, you got to take the big swing for the huge money guy. It's that sweet spot of what you're going to pay for guys who can be effective. And we'll see if Bosa ends up being one of those guys, because if he plays really well for them, he's a bargain.
Yes.
At $12 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? That's the question. So you pinpoint players, you go, you get them early, and then you can plan because this free agency stuff's going to go on for a while. There's still a lot left to do.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I think they've been strategic, and I like the fact that
Kidding.
No chance. STRAGDIC.
NO.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
And I like the fact that when you're taking the flyers on these guys, it's not some 4-year, $60 million deal. Like, those are the guys it's the Shakirs, it's the Terrell Bernards, where you're like, we know this person. When it's this first date,
the Reed Fergusons.
Yeah, yes, the Reed Fergusons. When it's this, hey, we'd like to go on a date with you. Here's a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
we really hope this.
You gotta earn it.
We hope this date goes well,
right?
And we hope we both benefit from this. Like that. That's how we're going to go about it. So I like it. I think it made sense.
Yeah.
What I was thinking of is George Bush used to get impersonated on Saturday Night Live, and he would say strategery. And they were talking, I heard him talking about it for Saturday Night Live the other day, where Bush came up and made the joke to Lorne Michaels. He said, you guys caught me saying strategery. And they were like, Mr. President, you never said that. We just made it up. And he was like, oh damn. So he never said strategery, but it would have fit.
It would have fit.
Yes.
That
when I heard you trying to spell that, I was like,
strategery. What is it, like, fool me once? Didn't he say that? Fool me once, and then he like, fool me. You can't get fooled again.
Hey, now watch this drive.
Okay. All right. You want to do credit to me?
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to start?
Not me.
I got a good one, actually. And this goes actually back to 2 weeks ago. Restore a little bit of faith in humanity with this one. Shout out to, his name is Alex, and he works at Lululemon in Pittsford. And I say that because wife and I, we got a gift card. We wanted to go to Lululemon, and it's pretty much the only time we shop there. It's pretty expensive. So we went there. I was like, Renee, you can have some of the gift card. I'll have some of the gift card. We each get something to wear for the spring and things like that. So wife's trying out a bunch of things, and this guy's helping us out, and he's just super nice. Oh, you look great in that. Do this, try that on, all these things, helping us all out. And then my wife picks out something else. So she's trying on 2 things. He's just being very personal, understanding all these things. He comes back over. My wife goes, I'm going to get this. I'm not going to get the shorts, something like that. And he goes, oh, come on. And we're like, no. And my wife goes, we just have a gift card. Like, that's it. And he goes, well, Lululemon's getting it for you.
Oh,
and
wow.
Went up to the register, and he got Renee, my wife, those clothes. So, and gave us an employee discount, things like that.
Wow.
Obviously, Renee starts crying just because of the kindness and generosity.
That's
in
so
the
sweet.
world that we live in now, and everything is hostile and everything like this, My wife and I barely get a chance to go out and grab a coffee. We found 20 minutes to go to Lululemon, and this guy made us feel like we were celebrities and barely knew who we were. Was very kind. We got to know he loves customer service. And anybody that hasn't waited a table or done customer service, I think you need to. It is a thankless job. It is brutal at times. It was just made our day, made our week. We walked out going, that was unbelievable. Why did that person, why us?
That's sweet.
And it was just one of those things of like, pass it on, do something nice. And it was.
So what are you going to do?
Well, we went to go get a coffee, and Renee's like, we should get somebody like the person behind us. And there was nobody in line. So Renee's like, I actually went back. I pulled a Jenna, wrote a card, and then dropped it off back to Lululemon because he didn't do it. Like, I was like, do I get him a gift card to say thank you? I was joking around, like when he was cashing us out. I was like, can I tip you? Like, that was so great. And he's like, don't worry about it. Like, I just do this because I like taking care of people, things like that. So shout out Alex from Lululemon, restored faith in humanity in a crazy world we live in. It was very nice when somebody does something kind for you. I meant to bring it up last week, but it is a credit to me that I wanted to make sure I put out there on the podcast.
That is so cool.
It was very nice.
That is very sweet. I love that.
Cool.
All right. My credit to me is the human body is incredible, man. So I had like stuff
oh yeah,
my eye got all messed up. I had exfoliating beads in my body wash that got into my eye. Had to go to urgent care. Was worried I scratched my cornea. If you saw the podcast on Monday, I was really hurting. And the doctor was like, essentially like, just it'll be okay. Just, you have to wait a couple days. And so I'm like 90% now. There's like one little thing still in my eye, but I just think the human body is incredible. For so many people, for so many things, it's like you get sick and you realize what a benefit it is to have a healthy body. So I just want everyone to take a moment and to appreciate what that means, how powerful that can be, and just taking care of yourself. And don't buy the $2 Dove
That's
body
what I
wash.
was just going to say. Don't buy the cheap stuff.
It was on sale. And Zach was laughing. He's like, how much money did you save buying that body wash? It was like $3. And he's like, I wonder if $3 is going to be your urgent care bill. It's like, yeah, I think I know the answer to that.
I also think it's kind of funny how she's crediting the human body when hers tried to kill her.
How resilient the human body.
The resiliency.
Well, people don't know. They don't.
She did it to herself. Her body responded, said, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Made an adjustment.
Yeah.
This one's going to be a little different. Credit to me because I kind of introduced these two to a guy who's now a Major League Baseball player, Ernie Clement.
Oh,
big Bills fan. Now I know Ernie through my family, extended family. They're related to Ernie. If you do know, and I think a lot of Bills fans know, Ernie's a big Bills fan. He plays for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's from Rochester, so he's been around here. He also played for the Buffalo Bisons. And shout out to Ernie. So I'm going to give the credit to Ernie. He took a shot in the face with a pitch.
In the face.
Hit right in the
mouth.
lip.
Yeah.
Ow.
Couple days later, it's back in the lineup for the first time. Bang, gone with a home run. And they were joking. He's like a hockey player. Well, he's also really good at hockey. And he's
golf.
really good at golf and
Mm-hmm.
basketball and every other thing.
Athlete.
And I know he watches Buffalo Plus. So shout out. I'm taking a little credit because you guys got to meet him.
Yeah.
He was mad at Dan one time.
Oh.
Because Dan likes to make fun of University of Virginia basketball.
Yeah, but then
Which
Ernie,
he won a national championship with
For
UVA.
baseball, yes.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
did. He was like,
I had tweeted something had gotten Virginia
why would
basketball-
anybody ever want to play for Virginia?
basketball? I said it was like a wide receiver wanting to go play at Navy. And Virginia people didn't like it.
Imagine
And then
that.
Ernie retweeted it and got it to all of his
UVA
friends. and then he texted me later and was like, my bad, man. I was really upset. But yeah, shout out Ernie. He had career high in home runs and RBIs last year.
Yeah.
Playing well again.
And when he was playing for the Bisons and he would go up to the plate, his song was the shout song. I think it might still be with the Blue Jays.
It's
Too.
awesome.
Good for him.
That was a Monday he got hit. Thursday.
Home
dinger.
run. Bang.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We'll keep you updated with whatever the Bills have in store next for you. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris.